Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video I am pleased to be showing you a new set of fans from AKASA. This is the SOHO AR 3-in-1 kit, which has a little bit more than you might expect. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we'll be taking a look at AKASA's new SOHO AR kit. This is a 3-in-1 kit. Well, there's 3 fans in there, but there's also some extra bits and pieces in there which is going to make life considerably easier, whether you're mounting these to a case, whether you're mounting them to a radiator, maybe a CPU cooler, perhaps possibly like the one up on the shelf there, which is coming up in a future review, so stay subscribed to see how that goes. But this is actually a really cool little kit. Often when you look at PC fans, there's a lot on the market, and there's absolutely a huge gamut of pricing. You've got fans which will give you RGB effect lighting from as little as £5, and then you've got ones which will cost anything between £35 and £40. So finding somewhere in the middle area which has a balance of both RGB, speed, silence and ease of use, and also availability, is a really good thing to find. Now this actually ticks that box in many ways. Now we'll get the price out of the way first of all. Price wise for this entire kit at the moment, we're looking in the UK somewhere between the £40 and £50 mark, depending where you shop. I'll put some links in the video description. Quite often you'll find actually on Amazon.co.uk there will be discounts offered for this particular set, so do keep an eye on that. If you're not too sure, just stick it in your basket and keep an eye out for it as the prices drop, which they generally tend to. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's have a look and see what we actually get for our money. So first of all, obviously from the packaging, as you can see, it's a 3-pack kit, so 3 fans included. The SOHO AR kit, so as it says, premium cooling fans with addressable RGB and splitter cable kit. Now this is actually where this is slightly different. This actually includes some really good value added components, which for some people, if this is your first set or maybe you're building your first PC, is going to be really, really helpful. For those of us which maybe have a case already and you've already got some RGB components, splitters, etc., then you might find those slightly unnecessary, but certainly they are worth keeping in a drawer somewhere handy just in case you ever need them. But we'll take a look at them very shortly. So on the side it goes into more details. Obviously you've got a high rated fan, premium design, fluid bearings, etc, etc. 120mm is the fan size, 500 to 2000 RPM. Now before you start thinking, oh, 500 RPM, that's a little bit on the high side for the low end. Actually, these things are ridiculously quiet. They really, really are. Due to the way the blades are designed, they're extremely quiet until you get to around about 3/4 of the way up. So around about the sort of 1500, 1600 RPM, then you notice that they're actually on. But even at that point, they're not horrible or noisy. You just hear a lot of airflow. So that is totally understandable. You've got 16mm color combinations. We won't be testing that. Also addressable RGB LED, compatible with MSI, Gigabyte, etc, etc, all the usual ones using the 5V 3-pin addressable RGB headers. And you've got extended fan life and also intelligent PWM speed circuit. And that's actually one thing which you'll probably see later on in the video if we get around to it, and also if you buy them for yourself you'll notice it definitely. The ramping speed actually of the fans, so there's a very, very slight delay, which is actually really good. So when I was in my software earlier, I went from kind of 1000 RPM up to 2000 RPM. I was expecting this instant whoosh, but it wasn't. It was a really nice gradual controlled ramp up, which is actually brilliant, because if you are using this in an environment where it's getting super hot and you need the fans to ramp up to the highest capability they can, then it's not going to be one of those things where all of a sudden it's a massive change in noise. It's a very gradual build up, and also as it spins down as well, it's very, very gradual. More so than I've found on any other fans that I've used recently. So the PWM controller in these fans must be something new on the market, which I haven't personally seen before. On the back of the box it goes into the specifications. I'll leave that on the screen for you now so you can have a quick read through. But essentially it goes through pretty much what I've just said. So it's 120mm fans, HD bearings, 500 to 2000 RPM, CFM rating of 52.91 and the dBA of 31.8. It gives you the voltages, etc, etc, but yeah, usual kind of stuff. On the other side it talks about what is actually in the kit, which we'll see in greater detail. So you get the addressable RGB splitter cable, you also get a fan splitter cable, and there is also a QR code which you can scan should you wish to. Just take a look and see what is actually inside. I actually opened some of this already because I was kind of a little bit confused what was going on. There was quite a lot of stuff in here, but so much so that I thought, oh, actually this is a really cool little kit. So first of all, we've got our addressable RGB splitter. So this is nothing new or revolutionary. but it's ultimately very handy. On its own, normally you'd pay somewhere in the region of £5 to £10 for one of these, which is basically just taking a 3-pin signal and splitting it into 3 headers. Any more than 3 normally for some systems sometimes causes problems, unless it's a powered splitter. So this is great, you don't need SATA power or anything. Literally it's just going to take the signal from the motherboard. On each end, you've got the male pins on there, which you can plug in to control the fans, etc., or other devices should you wish to. So that is included straight away, and it's also got pretty much a around about ½ a meter cable on there, so you can really use that in however you want to split the cables off as well. Loads of room as well from each one of them, so if you've got like 3 fans, top, middle, bottom, it's going to reach them very, very easily, so no issues there. So that's really nice to have that included. The next part of the kit is the actual PWM splitter. So this is what we've seen before. You've got a PWM plug, which will plug into either your CPU or chassis fan header on your motherboard. Nicely braided cable, and then on the other end we've got the connections for the fans. So the first one at the beginning is listed as being CPU. Obviously you don't really necessarily have to have it connected to the CPU header, but that is the one which is going to take the first signal, and then it's going to take that signal and kind of replicate it across all of the extra headers. So there's 5 in total on there. So if you wanted to, you could have maybe 3 of these fans, and maybe if you're going down the route of an all AKASA kit, you could use the Soho H4 cooler and actually put an additional fan on that, making a total of 5 fans, and you can connect them all up into one header. Now, I would say personally having 5 fans on one header might be pushing things a little bit much, and in terms of what your header can actually produce. Do check with your motherboard manufacturer, look at the detailed manual and see what the actual output is available on your CPU or chassis fan headers, just in case you're going to be overloading it. But with 3 fans on there, it's going to be absolutely fine. But obviously do check your voltages in the manual. So that is excellent. Also on the back there is a double-sided adhesive, and also they put a spacer on here, which sometimes they've never had before. They just had one whole thing. This is good because there's actually pins on the back of there which potentially could short out. So they've actually made it so that the foam padding kind of spaces that out, so it's not going to touch any metal parts, which is great. Of course, you can put this in your case, have it on the bottom, have it on the side, stick it wherever you like. Obviously, sticking outwards is probably not a great idea, or you can just tuck it away somewhere if you don't want to stick it down. So that is excellent, and that's included in the packaging. Next up, we've got the screw kits. So you've got 2 lots of screws for each one of the fans. There's a set of long screws, so this is going to be if you're using it with a radiator of some sort, or the normal screws if you're using it as a case fan. So it's nice that they've put all those in there straight away, so you don't have to mess around with them. And actually they're really nice finished kind of anodized screws and fittings on there, so attention to detail. Next up is the instruction manual, and because we don't have any kind of SATA power or anything like that, this is super simple and it all makes complete sense, but it's laid out there should you need it. Last of all, let's take a look at the fans. So I'll pull out one for now, and then we'll fire them all up together so you can see what they look like. The first thing I noticed taking it out is it's a heavy fan. There's a lot of weight to this. It does feel very premium, and actually just looking at the fit and finish, it does all look really, really nice. And actually, I'm trying to think, there is another manufacturer which make fans which are of a similar feel and quality. I can't quite put my my finger on it, but if I do, I'll put it in the section below there so you can work out which one it is. But yeah, it does feel actually very premium. So you've got 2 cables coming off. You've got roughly about 16 inches there of cabling, PWM, and your 5-volt addressable RGB. The fan itself, really nice, really tough frame, very minimal wiggle there, so it's a nice fiber blend, I believe, in here. Also, you've got rubberized pads actually on both sides, and actually they're nice, quite thick pads as well. Quite often on some fans you get these dampening pads, and they're a little bit on the kind of weak side, but these actually do feel like proper supple rubber, which is always nice, almost like a silicone finish. Blade wise, you've got a multi-blade fan on there which has been designed specifically for this purpose. So it's a perfectly balanced fan, so it works equally as well as a case fan or using on a radiator or a CPU cooler. It does have static pressure optimized, but also again good for airflow. Around the outside edge you can see there is the translucent plastic, which is for letting the RGB through. You've got 14 RGB LEDs in here, or addressable RGB LEDs I should say, which also diffuses really nicely through the sides as well. So you've got 2 strips on the side. Again, you've probably seen this from the B-roll, so you can see it a little bit clearer. Probably doesn't make a great deal of sense at the moment. But yeah, overall, actually really nice design. Very, very sturdy, very heavyweight, which is, for me, generally a very good sign. Another sign which I actually like is something silly, but it makes a difference, In the middle there, they've got the AKASA logo on this really nice kind of brushed aluminium type badge in there. And it does appear that it is actually, yeah, it does appear to be perfectly centered as well, which is always a nice thing. Nothing worse than having an off-centered badge in the front of a fan. That just looks awful. On the back, we don't have any bleed through really from the addressable RGB. So for some of you, if you're putting this as a case fan, you're not going to get a huge amount of light inside the case. You will get a little bit sent back in, but not a great deal. And also you can see the ratings of the fan. So the model number on there, DC brushless fan, HD bearing, etc. And it gives you the ratings for the 12 volt and the 5 volt. You've probably seen that from a close-up. But yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much it. Obviously, it's the usual dimensions, 120 by 120 by 25 mil from there. And again, it's all very, very nicely well made. Cables are all good. I like the fact that they've actually put both cables out in the same place. There are 1 or 2 manufacturers which have started doing it. So the fan will come out one side and the RGB will come out somewhere else, which is a little bit weird in my opinion, especially if you're using this on a radiator. If you're planning to put these on something like a 360mm radiator, it's going to be really handy because you just put all 3 on there, have all the cables come out in the same way. It just makes wiring considerably easier. Anyway, that's the intro, so let's get these all wired up, and I've got my power supply out, so let's see what they actually look like when they're lit up. So there we go, we've got the fans wired up, and I'm actually using a separate hub here. I'm not using the included equipment. Just for my purposes, it's actually easier because I don't have a PC to obviously control the fans. At the moment, the AKASA fan, that is on at 2000 RPM. Now, obviously I've got my microphone here so you can hear what it's like. I am approximately about 12 inches away from the fan, so this is nowhere near what you would normally be. And also it's on this IKEA desk, so if I lift it up, the noise profile will change very slightly. But one thing you'll notice is, if I had hair, it would be blowing now. There is a lot of air coming out of this thing. Really, really is. I want to disconnect because I don't want to trap my fingers in there because that always hurts. You can see what the RGB is like. So this is just from the GameMax control hub, which you can go through and change some of the settings there. So we can go through the different modes, etc. You get an idea of what the lighting is like. I think actually they look really cool. If I unplug that now, you'll see what the difference in sound is like. If I can unplug it from this. There we go, so that's unplugged. Much quieter already. So you can see the fans, what they look like. It's a really nice effect. It's not over the top. You don't have that kind of crazy RGB effect going on. It's just a very nice, subtle, kind of underglow effect, almost like when you get some cars where they have nice illumination inside, and just it's not over the top. It's not like a big dazzling bulb over your head. It's just nicely illuminated. I really do like that. There is a time and a place for massive full-on RGB. But I think actually for modern PCs now, going into 2022 and beyond, I think subtle is going to become more and more of a thing. We're kind of seem to be, as a marketplace, kind of steering away from the kind of more garish, or garish, I'm not even sure what the word is, that kind of over-the-top RGB, and coming back to something like this, which has just got a nice element to it. It looks really good in my opinion. On the side you can see you've got a little bit of bleed through there, so again, if you're buying these and you're planning on mounting them in a radiator or in a case where you've got top and bottom fans, it's not going to be that the RGB is going to be completely obliterated. If you actually look at the PC behind me, you can see the fans. There's no RGB actually visible on the side, and depending on what angle you're on, believe it or not, there is actually 3 fans in the bottom of that PC, but you can't see anything because the frames. So at least with these, when they're on the side, you will see that little bit of extra illumination, albeit not quite so much actually on the blades themselves. And looking at the blades, again, you've got this really nice effect on there. It's just a different look altogether. You've got multiple blades on there. I think there's about 10 or 11 blades on there. It's just a very, very different type of fan. I haven't seen anything else quite like this on the market, especially at this sort of price point. So not only are they tough, strong, quiet, and also powerful, they're going to move a lot of air, they also look pretty premium. So for me, that is a definite win. So it's not really down to me, it's down to what you guys think. I've told you the price, I've told you what you get inside the boxes. Ultimately, it's for you to make up your own minds. For me personally, if I was to rate these, I've got to give them at least a 4 out of 5 overall. I think there isn't really anything inherently wrong with them. My only thing is I would like to see them just a smidgen cheaper, just to compete against some of those other brands on the market. But if you're looking at other brands at the moment, so you're looking at maybe the Corsair, the LL120 SP Pros, they come in at somewhere in the region of anywhere between kind of £15 to £20. then you take into consideration the hubs, etc., it does start mounting up. There are cheaper fans on the market which will compete and do a very similar thing, but often you find the motors in them, the blades and the airflow isn't quite always up to scratch, whereas these do seem to actually tick all those boxes. We will be doing a follow-up video on this where we'll be putting these into a case for a build, and also as well, for those of you that are interested, we will be doing a review on the Soho H4, which is AKASA's new tower cooler, which actually does use these actually on the fan itself. So you've got one of these fans actually mounted on there, and they do include clips in that one as well, so you can actually attach another fan. So potentially you get these all together. They do sell these fans separately as well. Separately you can pick them up for somewhere in the region of between £14 and £17 from what I can tell from Amazon.co.uk and other UK sellers. Again, I'll put links in the video description so you check them out for yourself. But for me, for the first time actually, I'm pretty sure this is the first time in probably 10, maybe 15 years that I've actually had AKASA fans, and I gotta say this is a massive improvement from what I'd experienced in the kind of early 2000s, where they were a little bit more plasticky, a little bit louder, not quite so premium, but these are definitely a step in the right direction. So again, let me know what you think about this in the comments section, but for now, I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.